What would you do if your own mom sent you a $412,000 Venmo request for raising you? Yeah, I'm not kidding. She blasted it in a family group chat with 50-plus relatives, called me ungrateful, and tried to publicly invoice me for existing. Wild, right? But here's the crazy part. She thought I'd freak out. She thought I'd beg. She thought I'd stay quiet like always. Instead, I hit reply and dropped one PDF. Receipts, bank records, tax fraud, identity theft. And by the next morning, half the family ghosted her. The other half, they changed her life forever. This isn't just messy family drama. This is audit-level revenge. This is what happens when the quiet daughter finally keeps the receipts. If you've ever been labeled too sensitive or too dramatic, trust me, you're gonna feel this one. Hit like, smash that subscribe button. It's your love that keeps this channel going. All right, let's get into it. My name is Alina Brooks. I'm 29 years old, and last 4th of July, while everyone else was posting fireworks and family barbecues, my mother sent me a Venmo request for $412,000. The note section said, reimbursement for 29 years of sacrifice. She didn't send it privately. She screenshotted it and posted it in our extended family group chat with 52 members. Caption, when your ungrateful daughter forgets who paid our way. She thought I'd panic. She thought I'd call her crying. She thought I'd fold like I always did. Instead, I replied with one PDF. By sunrise, 50 people had removed her from the group. The last 2 didn't remove her. They rewrote her future. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me rewind. I live in Chicago now, 1-bedroom apartment, 3rd floor walk-up, radiators that clank in the winter like they're arguing with God. It's not glamorous, but it's mine. I work as a compliance auditor for a healthcare network. Basically, I find fraud for a living. I read fine print, I trace transactions, I follow the money. Numbers don't get emotional. They don't gaslight you. They don't rewrite history because it's inconvenient. People do. My older brother Caleb is the family headline, golden boy, college quarterback, now a serial entrepreneur, which is just a polite way of saying our parents bankroll whatever idea he's obsessed with that month. When he opened a craft brewery, they invested $120,000. When it tanked, they called it a learning experience. When I graduated summa cum laude with a degree in public health, my mom texted, congrats, period. That was it. Growing up, I was the dramatic one, the sensitive one, the one who always took things the wrong way. Caleb got applause. I got evaluations. My dad used to say, your mom just pushes you because she sees potential. I believed that for 20 years. Until I didn't. The first crack happened when I was 23. I tried renting my first apartment after grad school. Got denied. Credit score, 502. I laughed at first, thought it was a typo. It wasn't. 3 credit cards opened when I was 19. Maxed out, late payments, collections. Total debt, $38,700. I had never owned a credit card. When I confronted my mom, she didn't even blink. Oh, honey, that was temporary. We needed to float some expenses when your dad's business stepped. We were going to tell you. You never did. Well, you're so emotional about money. That was the moment something shifted in me. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I started documenting. I pulled credit reports, bank statements, old tax filings. And then I found the real bomb. From ages 22 to 27, while I was living independently in Chicago, filing my own taxes, paying my own health insurance, my parents claimed me as a dependent. 5 straight years. They received roughly $5,000 annually in tax credits tied to me. That's $25,000. When I asked about it, my dad said, it's just paperwork, everyone does it. Everyone doesn't commit federal fraud. But I stayed quiet, because part of me still wanted to believe it wasn't malicious. Then came the 4th of July reunion. My mom insisted everyone attend. Cousins flew in from Arizona, aunties drove down from Michigan. It was loud, red, white, and blue chaos in their suburban Indiana backyard. I showed up early, like always, helping set up folding tables while Caleb rolled in at noon with a new Tesla and a 6-pack of imported beer. Mom hugged him like he'd returned from war. She glanced at me like I was a neighbor. Dinner ended, fireworks popped in the distance. Then she stood up, tapping her wine glass. I just want to say something about gratitude. I felt it before she said my name. Alina, she smiled sweetly. Do you know how much you cost us? Laughter, nervous at first. She kept going. Hospital bills, braces, therapy sessions because you were so difficult, college tuition we had to help with. That part was a why. She picked up her phone. And since you act like we owe you something these days, I figured we'd settle accounts. That's when the Venmo notification buzzed on my phone. $412,000 requested. Subject, reimbursement for 29 years of sacrifice. The chat is bloated with laughing emojis. Caleb muttered, savage. I stood there, heart pounding, but weirdly calm. Because 3 years earlier, I had created a folder in my Google Drive titled, Just in Case. It had grown thicker than I expected. I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I simply said, since we're doing public accounting, I guess it's my turn. And I emailed the PDF. 52 recipients. Subject line, itemized truth. Dings echoed across the patio. At first, people smiled like this was entertainment. Then faces changed. The first page showed the fraudulent credit cards opened under my social security number. Statements shipped to my parents' address. Second page, IRS transcripts proving they claimed me illegally for 5 consecutive years. Third page, bank transfer records showing $63,000 withdrawn from a savings account my grandfather opened for me when I was 12. Transferred into my mother's business account 2 weeks before Caleb's brewery launched. The silence was deafening. My uncle, a CPA, whispered, "This is wire fraud." My aunt covered her mouth. My dad looked like someone unplugged him. Mom's smile cracked. "You're twisting things," she snapped. "We did what we had to for this family." "For Caleb," I corrected softly. Caleb stood up. "You're being dramatic. It's just money." "It's my identity," I replied. And then I dropped the final attachment. A screenshot of a text from my mother to Caleb, dated 2 years earlier. "She'll never fight back. She's too desperate for our approval." That's when the shift happened. Not loud, but permanent. People weren't looking at me anymore. They were looking at her. My grandmother didn't say a word during the chaos. She just watched. When half the guests left within the hour, she called me over quietly. "Come by tomorrow morning," she said. Alone. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I drove to her house, small brick ranch, smells like coffee and lemon cleaner. Her attorney was sitting at the kitchen table. So was my father. Grandma slid a folder toward me. "I changed my will at 3 a.m., she said calmly. "Your mother was set to inherit 40% of my estate. That is now 5. My breath caught. "The rest," she continued, "is redistributed between you and your father." My dad looked wrecked. "I had no idea about the accounts," he said quietly. "I knew about the taxes. I told myself it was harmless." "It wasn't," I said. He nodded. "I know." Grandma squeezed my hand. "What your mother did wasn't just wrong. It was predatory." 3 weeks later, my dad filed for divorce. My mom tried to spin it as betrayal. It didn't work. Caleb called me once. "You ruined everything." "No," I said. "I stopped letting you." We haven't spoken since. 2 months later, I received a letter from the IRS confirming my tax record was officially corrected. Credit score, 756. I paid off the last of the fraudulent debt after winning a civil judgment against my mother. She avoided criminal charges because my dad negotiated repayment in the divorce settlement. I didn't push for prison. I pushed for freedom. The last time she tried contacting me, she showed up outside my office. "I made mistakes," I replied. "You built a system," I replied. "There's a difference." I walked away. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel guilty. I felt light. My dad and I have dinner every Sunday now, just us. Sometimes he gets quiet and says, "I should have seen it." I tell him, "You see it now." That's enough. Grandma calls me every Wednesday. Last month, she told me, "Strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it just refuses." Marcus, yes, there's a Marcus in my story too, proposed in October. Nothing flashy, just a ring and the words, "You don't have to fight alone anymore." I said yes. Here's the thing nobody tells you about being the family scapegoat. You think you're broken. You think if you just try harder, love louder, shrink smaller, they'll finally choose you. But sometimes they need you small because your clarity threatens their comfort. My mom sent me a bill for $412,000. What she didn't calculate was the interest on humiliation, the compound growth of resentment, the cost of 29 years of being told I was too much. She tallied diapers and dinners. She forgot to tally resilience. And here's the truth. I was never the debt. I was the audit. If you're listening and you feel like the difficult one in your family, if you've been labeled too sensitive, ungrateful, ask yourself who benefits from that label. Because sometimes the bravest thing you can do isn't scream. It's document. It's wait. It's send the PDF. My name is Alina Brooks. My accounts are balanced. And I don't owe anyone a single cent of my existence.